and welcome to our chef series, third Friday chef series at Loch Nursing Home. And we have Erin with us today, and she's going to bake a wonderful recipe for us. Erin, thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Erin Roberts from the blog Erin's Bakeshop. For those of you that don't know, the blog is just a website on the internet, and you can basically write whatever you want. And my blog is full of all kinds of baking recipes, chocolate and peanut butter and cream cheese and all those delicious ingredients. And I just started my blog about a year ago because I just really enjoy baking, and I love trying new recipes and inventing new recipes. And so I just made this website to kind of share my favorites with my friends, family, anybody on the internet basically. And today I'm going to make chocolate chip cheesecake bites for you guys. And basically you make a cheesecake recipe, but we're going to make it in a muffin pan so they're smaller. And this helps a lot with self-control because cheesecake can be really addicting. And it has full of chocolate chips and has Oreos and all of the best things that are not good for you. And yeah, so we're going to get started here. First, we're going to make the crust of the cheesecake, which is an Oreo crust. So basically, I'm going to put 24 Oreos in here, and the right amount of butter to make the crust. You can use a food processor to crush the Oreos if you want. I like to do it with a Ziploc bag and a rolling pin because I don't like to do dishes. And I can throw this away when I'm done. So you just seal it up, let the air out, and we'll just crush it. You have to be kind of careful so you don't break the bag, because then you are going to do more than dishes. We're going to clean up a huge mess. You can even kind of use your hands to feel, see how fine you've got it, because you want to get it pretty fine so you have a nice crust. Oreos are one of my favorite ingredients to use. They just go good with about everything. Do we have any Oreo fans? All right. So just about got it all ground up here. That's pretty good. Now we just have to mix it with some melted butter. I like to use the light butter. It's just a little bit better for you, but okay, not as bad for you, I should say. So we're just gonna melt this. Takes just about 30 seconds, and you'll get it pretty good. I'm just gonna stir it a little bit, help it along. So you just want to stir it together and make sure that all of the Oreos are moistened. They should look pretty wet. Sometimes crust recipes don't call for quite as much butter. I used 5 1/3 tablespoon, but I like to do it this way because I think it stays better. It stays together better in the cupcake liner. So now we're just going to add, this is the kind of tedious part, just going to add a little bit to each cupcake liner and kind of form a crust with it. You need about a tablespoon for each liner, just enough to cover the bottom. And then we're going to make the cheesecake mixture to put on top. These will have to bake for just 5 minutes, just to get them set a little bit so that the cheesecake doesn't bake into it, kind of. I do some catering for weddings, and I have a bride coming up who I'm making not this recipe for, but a different cheesecake recipe. We're making these bites for her because she doesn't like cake as much, but she's doing cake and cheesecake. But I can't tell you who, because you know brides are very secretive about their desserts and the rest of their wedding. Now we just kind of need to flatten it a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect because it will spread a little bit while it's baking. So if you have some gaps or it's just not perfect, don't fret. It will turn out okay. I end up making a lot of cheesecake things because that's what my husband likes the most. And he thinks in a perfect world he would have some sort of cheesecake every day. But that doesn't happen every day. So just 5 minutes on that is all you need. Now we are going to mix up the cream cheese, which you want to soften it to room temperature. It just makes it easier to mix because cream cheese can be very stiff. We're going to mix the sugar as well. I'm going to use 3/4 of a cup of that, and whenever you're measuring sugar and flour too, you want to make sure you spoon and level it, is what we call it. Because if you just go in and take a big scoop, you're probably going to get more than you really need. And if you're, making cookies, especially if you're doing that with flour, you can end up with really dry cookies. And no one likes a dry cookie. Or at least nobody I've met. Anybody like dry cookies? So then you just want to take your knife and kind of up and down a couple times. And then just one swipe. And that's it. We're going to cream these together. One thing I like about these bowls is that they're really tall on the sides, because otherwise if they're too wide, things just go flying everywhere, and sometimes I'm kind of messy anyway. So now we need to add the milk. We're going to add 6 tablespoons. This is one of my favorite tools because it's a really tiny plastic thing, but it measures tablespoons. So, otherwise if you've got this, I always spill it and it drips over. But this is really easy to measure multiple tablespoons. I use it all the time. And I squat down to make sure it's perfectly level, because that's the thing about baking, is that you have to have just the right amount of ingredients. It's not like cooking where you can kind of just, I'm going to add a little of this or I'm going to add a little of that, unless it's chocolate chips, and then I think you can add as many as you want. But when it comes to pretty much everything else, you want to get it exactly right. And so as long as you follow the directions, you should always get, what you are desiring to make. So now we're almost there, getting pretty creamy. And now we're going to add the eggs. And we're going to beat after each addition. This will help us make sure that it is all incorporated evenly. Eggs do a lot of different things in recipes. Does anybody know of one thing that an egg does in a recipe? One thing that eggs do is adds moisture to the recipe, obviously because it adds liquid. Eggs also bind things together. So, when you're making cookies or cake or whatever, you need eggs to kind of keep everything together. And some people can't eat eggs, and there are different egg substitutes Oh, there's our crust. I'm gonna add 1 more minute to that. Like the egg substitutes are, you can use ground flax, or if you're making like an eggless cookie dough, you just use milk instead of eggs, if you don't want to eat raw eggs. Now we're gonna add in the sour cream. I'm just a recent fan of sour cream. I didn't used to like it too much, but it adds a lot of richness to desserts or other foods too, kind of like cream cheese. It just makes it a lot more flavorful. It sounds kind of weird adding something, you know, sour to something that's sweet, but it'll work in our favor, I promise. Now we just need some flour and vanilla, and we are almost finished. I'm gonna spoon and level this flour as well. We don't want any dry cheesecake. This flour will thicken up the cheesecake just a little. That's why we don't really need very much. Just a little bit. And then some vanilla for some sweetness. These are some of my favorite measuring spoons because they're magnetic and then they don't get separated, but you also don't have to have a whole ring of them all at once. I like using them. So just a teaspoon and a half will get this job done. And then with one final mixing stage. And I'm gonna scrape down the sides because otherwise you get a lot of it that doesn't get mixed in. And you want to mix it until it's really uniform, no chunks, nothing, just really creamy and the best. And my favorite part, chocolate chips. The recipe calls for a cup, but my theory is that you can't really screw it up if you add extra chocolate chips or peanut butter chips or anything like that. And I'm using mini chocolate chips. You can use regular chocolate chips if you want. I just like the minis for this since it's a small dessert anyway. And you get a little, sometimes you get a little more chocolate this way. And we're just gonna stir these in. Do we have anybody who likes to bake a lot? Or used to bake a lot of cakes or pies? I need some help with my pie recipes. I don't have very many. Although I've been given a meringue pie by a friend who said that this woman makes the best meringue pies. So if you know meringue tips, hit me up after this. Now we're gonna add the cheesecake on top of the crust, and I like to use a cookie scoop. I use cookie scoops for a lot of different things, but pretty much anything involving a cupcake pan I use them for, because it just makes it a lot easier to put the dough or the batter or whatever you're making in each one. And this is really stiff. Well, not really stiff, but it's stiffer than like a cupcake batter would be. So it goes really fast because it just stays on the cookie scoop. It doesn't, you know, drip off and you have to wait, not make such a big mess. Usually I'm really messy when I'm baking, but I have my husband for that. Help me clean up. I've always liked to bake. Ever since I was a little girl, I baked with my mom and my grandmas, and I always wanted to be the one to pour and stir. I don't know why, but that was always my thing, and also lick the bowl. Now I have to share that though. So my husband didn't get to lick the bowl growing up, so I feel like I owe it to him to, you know, get to lick the bowl a little bit now. I feel like he missed out a little bit. I try to put an even amount in each one of these, and then at the end when I've got extra, just go back and add it. But this way you make sure you get some in every cupcake liner. And these, you're gonna have enough to make them really full. So that's good because you get more cheesecake in every bite. Going with the theme of more chocolate chips, normally I like to add some on top as well because it kind of makes it pretty. Everybody likes a pretty dessert, I think. At least before they eat it. After that, no one really cares. Another good thing about these cheesecake bites is that they don't take very long to bake, just 20 minutes and you're done. But then you do have to wait for them to chill for 2 hours. So I'm gonna add some chocolate chips on top to a few of them. Just kind of make them a little pretty and festive. A lot of people worry about cracking when they're making cheesecake. And I'm kind of new to cheesecake, but I know when you're making it in a cake, you can do different tricks. Like you can wrap it in foil and then put it in a pot of water while it bakes, and that helps it to not crack. These, when they get out of the oven, they will actually look tall, like they have almost risen, and they will be cracked, but they will go down, and they will not stay risen. And then when you put them in the fridge, you won't even be able to tell. So I'm going to put these in the oven for 20 minutes. And that's it. And then you have to find somebody to help you clean up and do all the dishes and everything. I have already made some though, so we're not going to have to wait 2 hours to try these. So if you guys are ready, I can get them out. And do you guys have any questions about any of the part of the recipe or baking questions in general? No? Well, thank you guys so much. It was really fun.
Thank you, Erin, for coming out and doing this. And thank you all for tuning in to Loch Haven's Third Friday Chef Series, and we'll see you again next month.
We have taste testers. Like them?
We'll have some more in 20 minutes.